Just dive into it if
Yeah.
you think if the position and the
You guys
audio
have any
quality is
traffic this
good.
morning?
No. My wife works weekends now, or Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. She's off of maternity leave now. So Thursday, Friday, I gotta drop off the kids, pick up the kids. So
Oh boy.
it's a little bit of a mission in the morning.
Oh yeah.
Get them ready
I
and
can imagine.
yeah. So
I remember those days.
yeah. So I had that kind of traffic, not like car traffic,
Kid traffic.
kid
Yeah,
traffic.
kid traffic.
And then, some of those days it's like, I want my blanket, I want my toy.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, we're not gonna take it to daycare anyway. Let's just go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're rolling. We're good to go.
Okay. Bobby, thank you
Yeah.
for doing this. Quick little just kind of introduction what we're doing. So this year we thought it would be kind of cool to do a little bit more of a video series, informational to our audience, teach them a little bit more about commercial real estate and investments, but also to introduce them to people like yourself who are well known in the community, been doing this for a while, well respected, have tremendous business, and just so that people can get to know you better as well, right? So once again, thank you for doing this. This is, I guess, kind of unofficially episode 2 of our, Jeff Kim, JKRE Investment Group podcast.
I'm gonna interrupt. There's just we're missing a mic. Check. That one's green.
Oh, you see, good thing we double checked.
There we go.
There we go.
Should be good.
Should I start over and just kind of continue?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. This is natural.
So I guess, Bobby, for people who are not in the Central Valley, in the commercial real estate space, who may not have heard of you, I think I've shared with you the stories before of when I'm prospecting and I tell them, hey, my name's Jeff Kim. I'm an apartment broker with Colliers. Most common response is, do you know Bobby Fena? I'm like, of course I know Bobby Fena. We work together in the same office. And so in the commercial real estate space, everyone here knows who you are. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind just kind of telling us a little bit about yourself professionally and just what you do.
Okay, well, thank you for asking. This is kind of a neat thing too, and hope that some good comes out of it, I was born and raised here in Fresno, okay, and I've been here my whole life. Went to McLean High School, then from there, Fresno State, and got into the real estate business. As soon as I was actually in it in my senior year at Fresno State already. And how I got into it is used to work downtown at a place that used to roast coffee called Coffee Break Service, which is still in business to this day. And 2 of my fraternity brothers, they were twins, and their grandfather started this business called Dale Brothers Coffee. And they roasted coffee, packaged it, and sold it to big institutional places like convention centers, restaurants, hotels. But nobody was selling coffee to offices. So they had this idea to start this business and sell coffee to offices, and that's when I went to work for them. So I got into sales at an early age because I would be the one that would go out and sell the service to the individual offices. We'd provide a machine, we'd keep them just like we have here. Provide a machine, we'd buy the coffee and the other supplies along with it, and that's how I got to know a guy by the name of Charles Tingey, who founded our company. Because at that time, none of us were married, none of us had kids, and we were all bachelors. And we went out all the time together. We partied together, worked together, and Charlie was great. I mean, he would make a lease deal with someone, and then call me and say, go sell him your service. And he'd kind of get me in the front door. And we would go, usually 9 times out of 10, make the deal to provide the service. And so that I got acclimated to the office side of things selling coffee, not actually real estate.
Yeah.
But I didn't really understand what Charles did, but I knew one thing. He knew everybody in town. He was well liked, he was well respected. He made a lot of money, drove nice cars, dressed nice, and I just said, I want to do that. I didn't understand what the heck it was. And so as we got to talking, he says, well, you're not going to be able to do anything until you have to have a real estate license anywhere, but obviously in the state of California. So what I did is I enrolled in Anthony Schools. I don't know if you remember that. That's where it was a school where you'd go to at night and learn how to pass the real estate test. So I did that for a while, passed, and he wanted me to come to work for him. And I was close to graduating and really didn't know what I was going to do. I was a business finance major, and I didn't really plan on real estate. But again, I learned a lot about it from watching him and because we were friends. And I decided that's what I wanted to do. And at the time, he had just gotten or was getting the listing on the 150-acre Fresno Airport Center.
Oh, wow.
And there were no buildings out there then. And he was, one of his clients was the Robert G. Fisher Construction Company. They're a big builder and developer, and they were buying this entire block of land. There was no streets out there. The airport was there, but it was pretty small at this point. And this was in the early 70s, mid-70s. And so he wanted me to come on board as soon as he got the listing. But it took a lot longer with zoning and so forth. So I had my license, and I didn't know anything about real estate. So I started selling houses. That's how I started because, he said it will acclimate you to what, an escrow is,
right,
and what a preliminary title report is, and the process that you have to go through to sell something and close something. And I mean, I was, basically, 21, 22 years old, and the office I was hired at, 95% of the agents there were middle-aged females that worked part-time, and I worked my tail off. I worked Saturdays, Sundays, and I liked it. I didn't really, after a while I was making money, but it was the transition that was the big thing for me because I had never been in a straight commissioned position before, right, where if you don't produce, you don't eat. It's that scary. Simple. Yeah. It's very scary. And, fortunately, I was living in an apartment with 2 fraternity brothers, so it wasn't that bad, paying, it was as inexpensive as it could be. And I wasn't married, didn't have kids yet, So that's how it all started. But it's clearly been the best move I've ever made in my life. And I told the guy I went to work for selling houses that, my plan was not to stay there full time. He was totally okay with it. I'm still friends with him to this very day. He's still in the real estate business. Daryl Zuber is his name.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Mr. Z. He's the one that hired me.
Wow.
And got me going. So I worked there for about a year, 13, 14 months. And Charles called me one day and said, I need you now. I got the listing. I need you over here. And he called me on a Friday. I was there Monday. But Daryl knew what was going on.
Right.
And the thing, as I reflect back on that, that's what I tell guys in this business. We're commercial brokers. Don't try to pretend you're something that you're not, and pretend you know something about something you don't. because residential real estate is so different from what we do, as you know, in commercial. And it was in the, I did well in it. I made more money than I thought, but I didn't really like it because the decision making most of the time on homes was based on the color of the carpet or the color of the drapes or the paint outside or the landscaping. They were emotional decisions.
Right.
You know, that's the one thing that I really didn't like about it. So anyway, that's how I got going. And with when I went to work for Charles Tingey Associates, it was called. We were downtown in the 6th floor of the Patterson building, and I was the 6th guy that was there. And the two owners of the firm were Charles Tingey and John Brailsford, who's still one of the major developers in Central California to this day.
Yeah.
And John really wasn't in brokerage; he was developing from day one. But you know, we didn't have very much space. We had a little 500 square foot space, so I shared an office in the conference room with another guy by the name of Chris Kamek.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, who just recently retired. So Chris was there a few months before I got there.
Okay.
And that's how we started.
Wow. Wow, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Like,
And we just
it's that origin story.
Focused on mainly office because that's where, you know, we didn't do any residential and we didn't have any industrial going at that time. We didn't have any apartment stuff going at that time, and we had one guy doing retail at that time. And so Chris and I did, and Charles were the ones doing office space.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Very cool.
And Jim Burden.
And all these names you mentioned are, you know, today very well established, you know, just great reputation. Everybody knows them, big players in the business community here. So it's very cool to hear like everyone got started together in a small office and, you know, kind of grew from there.
Yeah.
So curious, so I started similarly in that I got my start in real estate in residential. And I know obviously there's just a million different ways to start, right? Whether it's working under somebody as a junior, starting in residential, maybe just starting with the leasing side, just a million different ways to do it. And I think we've all met and seen people who are successful. If they're going to be successful, they're going to be successful, right? Regardless of how they get started. But just curious, in your opinion, based on your experience, is there maybe a different way you wish you would have gotten started, or just different, you know, if you recommended a new person to get started, how you would recommend them?
It's hard to answer that because the market was so different. You know, this is my 51st year I've been doing it. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, that's a long time. I'm old, you know, and I've been around a long time.
Experienced, Bobby.
Well, it was so different back then, you know, and there were very few commercial real estate agents and brokers at that time.
Right.
Well, and you know, at that time, you know, we're here now in a county that's what have we got, 1.7 million people in Fresno County right now? Well, we had in the city of Fresno, there was like 80 or 85,000 people at that time. It was so much smaller, you know, than what it is today. And I'm glad I started the way I did because, you know, it's ironic, you know, how much you learn as you go along. You know, I mean, we were doing a little bit of everything. We did warehouse leasing because we learned what an office warehouse combination was at that time. There was a need for that, and there was office warehouse buildings built in office parks. You know, there was retail to service that built in office parks. So we learned how to do all of that because there was only a few of us doing it at the time.
Right.
But as the, you know, the city grew, the metro area grew, basically Fresno and Clovis, then things got bigger, then more people started getting into the business, and you had to really, you can't be all things to all people.
Right.
Some people don't believe that to this very day, but
Right.
we were brought and taught that way, and it's really true. You need to focus on what you're good at and what you know best, and don't pretend that you're an expert in an area that you're not. Go get the right person,
Right.
team up, and that one thing. Charles always, harped on that. Be a team player, get guys involved, because you'll make a lot more money and a lot more deals teaming up with people than you will trying to do everything all by yourself.
Right.
And getting the whole deal.
Right.
And that is so true. It's true to this very day. And in the end, it's all about repeat business. Okay, you do a good job for somebody, they're not going to forget that. They're going to tell somebody else about it, and that's where I got lucky. Because I've been fortunate to have been in that position and done it for so long. And the bottom line for me, as I reflect back, as I got one foot out the door, in semi-retirement right now, and soon be wrapping this up, is I look back and I don't know what else I could have done where I have made the money that I've been able to make in the real estate business.
Right.
And been able to control my own destiny.
Right.
And not have somebody, telling me what to do or steer me in a different direction.
Right.
I've been very fortunate.
Right. Right.
So.
Well, you've definitely worked very hard at it as well, right? And people always say, luck is when proper preparation meets opportunity, right? So I'm curious, in your opinion, growing up as a kid, were you always kind of like an entrepreneur, like a salesperson, lemonade stand, that kind of thing? Do you feel like people can learn to be salespeople? Like, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, we did all that. I grew up. My real father was unfortunately killed in an automobile accident when I was 10 years old, and I had a younger sister and a younger brother, and we went to Catholic school at the time. Well, once my dad passed suddenly, my mom couldn't. She wasn't working. She couldn't afford to send us, so we went to public school at that time.
Right.
Long story short, a few years later, we had another family, a large animal veterinarian moved in across the street. He had a daughter that was my age and a son that was a couple years younger. Well, long story short, they ended up getting married. And, there was 5 of us, and it was great. And, his wife had passed away, and so it was just a nice deal. Well, there was 5 of us, and he was pretty busy, so the 5 of us had to do everything, take care of the yard, and we lived, since he handled large animal, cows, horses, that kind of thing. We lived on some acreage way out on Belmont Avenue, and now it's next to the Belmont Country Club, but it was county back then because he couldn't have this type of operation in the city limits. So we had to learn to do a lot of things. And we all started working at with 5 of us, they couldn't afford to buy cars for us and stuff like that. So we all started working. My very first job was picking figs, and that taught me a lot about what I didn't want to do.
Right.
That was that was the worst damn thing, because at the time, they didn't have those big machines that grab a hold of the tree and shake them so the fruit drops. You had to get up with these sledgehammers. And it was, in the summertime around good old Fresno, I mean, it's in triple digits all the time. But it was so dirty and dusty that you'd have to wear a hat, glasses, a mask, and a shirt to keep the dust off of you. So I did that for one summer and never did it again. It was horrible, but it taught me what I didn't want to do.
Right.
I wanted to use my brain,
Right.
not my brawn, but yeah, I've always been, never afraid to work. Neither my whole family's that way. It's just the way we're brought up.
Right,
And I'm
right.
glad for that.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, getting started in real estate, or I guess specifically the commercial side of the career, sounds like you were able to achieve some form of success relatively quickly. And when I got into commercial real estate, the broker basically said, you should not expect to make money your first year. If you do, great, but if you're coming into this business, you should be coming into it with reserves, or you should be coming into it with like some sort of, way to make side income, or maybe even a spouse that'll support you, right? Yeah. So were you able to just, did you have any other kind of ways to make income in the beginning, or just doing real estate full time?
Well, yes. In one of the jobs I had when I was at coffee break service at Fresno State, is I was a bartender at night.
Oh, okay.
And so I did that a couple nights a week, because I had to have some money to pay my bills and
Right.
rent and gas and all that kind of stuff. So I did that. I was working, pretty much 7 days a week, but it didn't bother me. I'm in my early 20s, and
Right.
and it got me through. But it took a while. The very first deal I ever made was after, you remember Fritz Lauritsen, God rest his soul, it used to be a partner of ours here. Fritz came on board about 6 months after I did. And we both made our very first deal in a 600 square foot office building, office space at the Fresno Airport Center in a new building. And we didn't know, either of us didn't know really what the hell we were doing.
Right, right.
And we put a carpet, it was like a carpet showroom type of thing, where they had samples and so forth, and people would come in, choose their carpet. And anyway, we put it in an office building, and we didn't know that we had to have a different license for that, or the tenant had to have a different license for that. But we did a 1-year lease with them, and there was another broker that was representing the carpet group. Fritz and I represented the building, and by the time that the commission was split, we each got paid $6.50 each. that was the first deal I made. But the one thing that Charles was good at, he would get me involved and have me do a lot of the running around work, and
Right.
he'd take care of me. He'd give me a little piece of it,
Right.
keep me going, And and one thing we learned right at an early age is cold calling, and we did walk-in cold calls for several hours every day, because the point was people needed to know who we were.
Right.
Charles said, you go in, this is what you're doing. We're doing a lot of leasing in new buildings. If you have any needs, here's my card. Well, that's the hardest thing in the world to do.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
works, and you don't get a lot of responses, but once, somebody will keep your card and call you and say, hey, you stopped by our place, left your card last year, and we need some space. That's half the battle right there, because you're representing him, and you got a call back. You're getting
Right.
paid for your efforts. So
Right. So in the multifamily and investment space, we can't necessarily cold call in person, right? Because apartment owners typically don't live at the buildings they own. Right. But I've always wondered about, in office, that obviously makes a lot more sense to cold call in person. Yeah. Someone thinking about that, can you share maybe just some little strategies, little things that, little tips that worked for you to maybe make you more memorable, help you get past the gatekeeper? Like, what are some tricks in cold calling like that?
Well, it's that type of approach today wouldn't work.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
because of technology and a lot of other things. People, don't want to be bothered like that. But,
Yeah.
when at that particular time, the airport was starting to grow, Shaw Avenue was starting to form at that time. And, when we were doing deal, we were getting more listings, so we had space to fill. And, we had to make cold calls, we had cold call lists. And, Chris Kamick and I did. I mean, we would start early in the morning. He'd go down one side of Shaw, I'd go down the other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we approached it, because Charles wanted to make sure that our name was getting out there.
Right.
And nobody likes doing that.
Right.
But you learn how to do it, because it's not like we were selling shoes or something, or you're selling real estate. I mean, it's a product that most people are interested in learning something about,
Right.
particularly in a growing market. And so it didn't take us long for that to start happening. But
Right.
we did that, I would say, for the first 10 years of my career, we were cold calling.
Wow.
And to this day, we still do that, but in a different way.
Right.
You never stop calling people.
Right. Right. That makes a lot of sense. Which leads to just kind of my next question. I'm thinking is, when did it feel like it started to click for you, or that you started to feel like you had momentum? Was it a certain time period? Was it like a deal that you landed? What did that look like for you?
Well, I think for me, way back then, it wasn't, I mean, the thought of making six figures, at least $100,000, nobody did that except Charles and John Brailsford and Jim Burden, the guys that taught us.
Right.
And so and we saw what they did and how they did it. And, the whole key, I mean, to me was, again, trying to team up on deals and get involved in as many deals as I could possibly, because it adds up.
Right.
It adds up quickly.
Right.
And I hit six figures within probably 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really fast.
Yeah,
and six figures at that time is significantly more than six figures today.
Well, and we didn't do it all with leasing space. It was obviously a lot of sales took place, and they were sales of land and buildings.
Right.
And a lot of it was land. To give you an example, we sold the whole north half of the First and Herndon intersection to Wathen, Ellis, and Thomason. It was at least 48 years ago. And I was involved in that with Charles and Jim Burden. We had a team, but it was 80 acres. And it was, at that point, it was several $1 million. And look what's out there today. But the sale of that was great, because we got the land sale. Okay, then they started building office buildings, right away, and we're doing the leasing on the office buildings.
Right.
It's kind of it picks up
Compounding.
momentum.
Yeah, momentum.
And so we did a lot of that along Shaw Avenue too, where we sold a lot of land. And after a while, it adds up pretty quickly.
Right.
And it's like today, we'll tell like Matt, well, if you're not making $100,000 within 2 years, or something wrong. And usually we can tell within the first 6 months that a broker starts green if he's going to make it or not. And it's a matter of your work ethic. Are you doing what you need to be doing? Making call. Do you know the market?
Right.
First thing we told Matt is, what I want you to do is, you got to learn our listings. You will. That's critical.
Right.
But you need to learn our competition's listings for a lot of reasons, because you need to know what you're competing with. You need to know what's out there in the marketplace, because if you're going to do the best job for a client, to sell them a building or sell them on leasing space in a certain building, you got to show them the whole market.
Right, right.
Otherwise, you're not doing your job.
Yep.
And that means showing your competition's listings, because, not everything you have listed might be the best solution for your client.
Right.
But that's what you want to do, and that helps your reputation get stronger and stronger.
Right.
Because, they know what's going on. They know that you've had to split a commission with another broker, but you did the best job for them. So are they going to tell other people about that? Are they going to recommend you? 9 times out of 10, they will.
Right, right.
And that's how you get started, just like what you're doing.
Right, right.
You know?
So not thinking about the specific deal and what you're going to be making from that one deal, but having more of a long-term goal of doing what's best for the client, right? Like selling other people's deals or whatever, but building that relationship for longer term business.
You hit it right on the head, Jeff. That's exactly it. Because, that's why, the hard part for me at this stage of my career, after all, it's just hard to believe it's been that long. I've been doing it this long. It's hard to believe, And now, me trying to step away, it's hard to close that door.
Right.
Because, it's nice when somebody calls you after a while, you haven't maybe talked to them or you haven't done any business with them for a long time because they haven't needed anything. But when they need something, they pick up the phone and call you.
Right.
And it's nice typically if they want to sell something or they want to buy something.
Yeah.
And now we've got our teams well set up.
Right.
That we can really take care of people.
Right, right. Exactly.
And it benefits you. Benefits everybody.
Right. So I have a question about partnering up with other brokers. So I think I'm a big like team player as well, right? And one of my goals is to build an investment sales team, a solid group of guys of, 3, 4, 5 guys, something like that. But I've always wondered how splits work. Because from what I've seen with other groups and teams, it seems like that's what always kind of breaks apart teams. There seems to be always some sort of disagreement about what's fair and what they should get and et cetera, right? So in your experience, like how were you guys able to, amicably figure that out? And what do you think is the best way to do that?
That's probably the most difficult part of this business. Is splitting commissions, particularly with people you work with. It's never been easy, but, as we got to a point where, at least for me personally, I qualified to become, a partner when, it's a whole nother story how our partnership evolved. It would take an hour, but once we finally, took that direction, it made me think differently. And, we were hiring guys, firing guys, frequently. And there was people that were greedy and weren't team players.
Right.
That didn't work in our company.
Right.
And what we do when there was a commission dispute, I would tell the guys, go into that conference room and don't come out until it's settled. I don't care if it takes all day, 2 days, 3 days. We're not doing it. Get your ass inside there and talk this thing out.
Right.
And that's how for us, we forced people that had disagreements to come to an agreement.
Right.
But it's very tough because, everybody has a sense of self-worth, but you have to be able to contribute if you're going to do something on a 50-50 basis. It needs to be split that way. The nice thing that we had, that's one of the proudest things about working in this company all these years, is there's been disagreements, commission disputes, but friendly ones. And they are the kind of disputes where the guys are arguing because the other guy's not taking enough. Okay?
That's pretty cool.
Those are the fun kind.
Right.
Because everybody's on the same page.
Right.
You know, everything evens out, and you know that's why we have 20 plus partners.
Right.
Okay, they've qualified, they've made enough money to meet the requirements, and they're partners.
Right.
And it's a way better environment. You know, if you're all making money to do it that way,
Right.
you have much less. And you know, if you can resolve commission disputes, you can resolve anything. You know.
Yeah.
So we were taught that way, and we've taught our guys to do it that way. Life's a lot simpler. This business is hard enough as it is,
Right.
because you're still, to this day, the rule applies. You don't produce, you don't eat.
Right.
Okay, that never changes here. So
someone getting started in commercial real estate. I know our office, Colliers, is very big on specialization, right?
Yeah.
We've got an office team, a retail team, industrial team. Someone getting started in commercial real estate, you know, they don't really know any of the asset classes, right?
yeah.
Is the best thing to do, in your opinion, just get started and kind of like dabble in a little bit? Is the best thing, in your opinion, maybe just finding a mentor in a certain asset class and then try working it? Like, what do you think is the best way to think of like asset classes and what to get into? Or is it even just like what you're just most interested in? You know what I mean? How would you think about that?
Well, and I can maybe answer it the way we finally got you to come into our company, okay? Because when Ernie Rice, who of course you never knew, was our partner, he was our apartment king for years, and he was operating, you know, we started in Fresno, went down and he opened and moved to Bakersfield, got that going, but he always specialized. You know, he did a little office to start with, but he really liked apartments, and hardly anybody was doing apartments. So he saw a niche area for himself, and he did great, and it really helped our whole company. And Ernie was really the apartment king. And then, you know, he fell ill for several years, passed away, and we've never had anybody since. You know, and that's one area that was sorely lacking for Colliers Tingey, and I'm not talking about Colliers overall, but Tingey is, because that market has grown like crazy, as you more than well know. And, you know, getting somebody that could come in that knows the market, knows that product, and wants to focus on that product, that was the hard part. And you were doing that. You were going, you made a name for yourself. We knew who you were. And now we got Chris here, and you're hiring some more people here. You're building a team.
We're trying to.
And that's the way to do it. And that's how we would hire, and we still do here. You know, when I leave and Brian Decker leaves, okay, and we both got a foot out the door, you know, that's one of the reasons we brought Matt in there, because we're going to need some more help with the amount of listings that we have.
Right.
And people are pretty loyal to us. We need to have the bodies to cover it.
Right. Right.
And so, you know, and it's not so much. It's never been about filling each desk, because that doesn't work in real estate, as you well know. It's getting somebody that's going to add to the team, who wants to make money, who wants to be basically your own boss, because you know, you think about it, we're all straight commission salespeople, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, we pay everything. We pay our expenses. We pay everything.
Right. Right.
And you know, for me, I'm fortunate. I don't know how else I would have done it in my lifetime. You know, working for somebody, collecting a paycheck every two. You know, as I found out early on, that wasn't for me.
Right. Right.
You know?
Now, As a broker, I know that you have your own personal investments as well, and I'm curious to also learn how you thought about that and when would be a good time to invest, or if you had this plan of. I've heard from a lot of people their goal is to buy one investment property a year or something like that, and so just curious, like what your strategy or goals were with investment properties.
Well, that's one strong area that Charles and John Brelsford and Jim Burden, who were basically the leaders when I started, always harped on all the time. And it's so true, because once you get to the point where you're making 6 figures or 7 figures, which we have partners that are doing that darn near every year,
right.
that's a lot of money. And if you don't have some investments, then, some business write-offs and depreciation, then it's really tough writing those checks out to the federal government and the state of California each and every year
Right.
for big sums.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's the whole key. And I harp on that to everybody that comes into the business that'll listen to me. Try to become an owner of real estate, because that's where your net worth comes from. Okay. And, and it got, for me, one of the best to this day, I'm still, 40, what's it been, 46, 47 years. I'm a 6% owner of an office building across from the Merced Mall on Olive Avenue in Merced, California.
Oh, wow.
And it's a little 5,000 square foot building. And what happened is back when we represented, when Guarantee Savings and Loan was around, and when Savings and Loans could be a real estate developer, can't do that anymore, but we sold Guarantee land, because whenever they needed a branch up and down the valley, we'd have to go find, I was on that team, we'd go find the land to build, and most of the time they couldn't just find a half an acre parcel, because they didn't exist. They'd have to buy something like the Guarantee, it's now called Star Point Towers. It was the Guarantee Financial Center on, by Fresno State for years. Well, that's 15 acres, because they wanted to be right on the corner where they put their branch, but the developer that owned it said, I'm not splitting this. If you want it, you got to buy all 15 acres. That's what they did. And they decided to say, we're developing, build, the Guarantee, 156,000 square feet of office space, which we got to fill up. Well, same thing happened in Merced. They built 4 small buildings. It was a smaller parcel in addition to the branch. And we leased it up. And then, because they're a lender, they decided to sell all 4 buildings and provide financing. So I went back to the guys there was a stock brokerage company called Payne Weber, if you remember them.
Yeah.
I leased them part of this building. Good guys, got to be friends with them. Their biggest client was a guy named Tim Rosari. He owns 7 car dealerships in Merced to this day. He's all over the place. He was their biggest investment client. And they went to him, and he came in, they put a partnership together and bought this building, this little 5,000 square foot building, and offered me a position in it. Well, I didn't have the money. I had 2 small kids at the time, and what I was able to do is take the commission, sale commission I had, and what I got, I put that into it once it closed. Yeah. Well, it was actually a little less than 6% by the time the house got there, but I was able to take what I made and put it in to this day, and it's one of the best deals I've ever made, because I put in, oh my gosh, it was $5,000 or $6,000 at that time was my share, and it's paid me back in rent income, and so we still own the building. It's been paid off forever, and I've gotten over 6 figures in return. Now it's been 46, 47 years, but still.
That's great.
And we bought it for under $400,000. It's worth $1.3 million right now.
Yeah.
That's how you build your net worth.
Right.
And that's, that's what you want to do. And you want to do a lot of that.
Right.
And in being in commercial real estate gives us the opportunity
Right.
where a lot of other people don't have that
Exactly.
opportunity.
Multiple streams, right? You're still out there doing your deals,
Yeah.
selling properties, and then you've got your assets, building your net worth. Very cool. Another question I've always wondered is, I've noticed that a lot of brokers, especially after achieving some level of success, seem to not stay in brokerage. And I'm sure that's, million personal reasons why that might be, right? But I've noticed a lot of brokers go into either being a principal and doing their own deals, or raising money and doing like syndications, or I've seen a lot of guys get into development, right? It just seems kind of like the natural career path for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of curious, like, if you ever thought about maybe kind of doing something like that, or maybe what keeps you in brokerage and what you enjoy about it so much.
Well, I mean, to me, the way I've done it with my investments, I'm in several partnerships, so that that helps share the upside and downside both, because there are downsides when you have vacant buildings, you're not getting income, but you still have a loan you got to pay off,
Right.
and you got to pay monthly expenses, insurance, utilities. I mean, it's always been a balance for me. I've had the opportunity to get into groups that want to do just development, but they wanted to stay in development, and I was reluctant to do that because I'm not an expert at that. If I can own the building, I know how to lease it, I know how to sell it if I need to. That's all I need to know. But in terms of, and we've had such good experience in selling somebody land, helping them get it zoned, going through getting a building permit, waiting to get it built, to see what, how it's built and what that developer has to go through, the risks that they take,
Right.
and get it leased. That just wasn't something I was willing. I didn't want to stick my neck out.
Right. Right.
Some people have no problem doing that, but I just I wanted to err on the side of caution and not leave what I knew very well and what I was good at very well, and roll the dice. And because you're taking a big plunge if you go all out into that development world, and it wasn't worth it to me.
Got it. Makes sense. Bobby, I could see how Joe Rogan and these guys do these like 2-3 hour podcasts. I feel like time is flying by. I know you've got other things you got to get to, but if I could just ask a couple more questions just to kind of wrap these things up. But
Sure.
I feel like a lot of owners, sellers treat real estate agents, whether it's residential or commercial, as commodities, as transactional. And I know just from our experience of doing a deal together and just your long history, you've been able to build relationships through your transactions. And I'm curious to learn more about, like, how do you feel like you've been able to actually build a relationship versus these clients just feeling like, okay, cool, thanks for the help on that deal, on to the next. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think everybody has their own style, but I think part of it is how you treat people and how you deal with people. And what I try to tell everybody is, you got to communicate, good or bad. You got to communicate, because that's the biggest problem we have in our life these days, is people don't communicate properly with each other. Okay, that's when trouble occurs. And you're in real estate, you got to have the attitude, you're not going to make every deal. Okay, and what you want to do is be able to make most of them. You're not going to make all of them. You're going to waste a lot of time. You get down to the end, and it doesn't it doesn't go together for some reason, okay? You've wasted a lot of time and effort, but that's part of the business.
Yep.
You have to be able to not let it affect you, put it behind you, and go forward
Yep.
to the next deal. But it's hard finding that balance. But I think once people know your honest, your desires and how you think, how you work, and it's good communication has made me, honest communication, good or bad, has made me more repeat business than anything, because people know I'm not going to BS them. I'm going to tell them the truth, good or bad. They can trust me.
Right.
You know, they know that I'm looking out for them, and that, because you're not going to make every deal.
Right.
And people don't forget that if you've treated them right and they can trust you, they're going to come back to you. And I mean, to me, it's really simple, but some people just don't get it. And those people are the ones that constantly are in arguments and disputes with other brokers, disputes with their clients.
Yeah.
They're sue happy.
Right.
I'm knocking on wood, but in all the years I've been doing this, I've never been involved in a work-related lawsuit.
Nice.
And it's because I had good teachers, and
Right.
you learn how to do something the honest, right way. It's simple.
Right. Okay. Very cool. And then if you could give any kind of advice, I mean, obviously, I'm a big believer in, our experiences and everything, make you who you are today, right? So I have very few changes or regrets or anything like that. But if you could give your younger self some just business advice of something you would have done differently, what would that maybe be?
God, that's a good question. I mean, that's, I don't know what else I would have done. I mean, I didn't intend to go into real estate. I didn't, but it intrigued me, and I always liked seeing new buildings, new things happen, because that multiplied things. That made things work for a lot of people. I honestly, I don't know what else I would have done. I know that, I wouldn't have lasted working underneath somebody very long.
Right.
I know that now, and I'm glad that I was able to kind of make it on my own.
Right.
Because again, you don't produce, you don't eat. If you can't pay your bills, you're not going to be successful in the business. And I learned early on how to do it, how to do it right, how to do it honestly. Again, by communicating and treating people right, and getting to know a lot of people helps too. And that's
Right.
one thing when you've been doing this as long as I do. You get to know a lot of people, and it comes in handy more than you'd ever imagine.
Right.
And it helps. It's again, like for me, I've made more money in my life than I ever dreamed I could, and it's just because I got lucky. The Lord helped me take this path. Thank God.
Right. And you know what I've always heard too about people who do well in whatever industry they're in is that it's not about the money, right? Like when you focus on the money too much is when you don't get it. But if you focus more on the process, the level of service, the actual business, doing the right thing, that's when it just kind of naturally comes, right?
It's exactly right, Jeff. It does, and you're pleasantly surprised too, because unfortunately I've had good accountants, or same accountants that do all of Colliers stuff for years have been my personal accountants for the last 45 years at least, and they've helped steer me. And when you make a lot of money, then you need to know how to do it wisely and try to, pay the least amount in taxes. And that's where, owning property and getting rental income,
Right.
getting income from other sources so you're not dependent on commission income for everything. That's when you hit pay dirt.
That's right. That's right. Well,
Yeah.
Bobby, this has been a great conversation. I think we might have to schedule a round two at some point. I think we're going to get a lot of good feedback and probably some questions about just more brokerage related stuff. But maybe just to end it, if we could just end it with a couple of just more personal, just lighthearted questions, just outside of real estate, what are some of the hobbies? What do you enjoy doing?
Well, I haven't played golf very much, but I like golf. I'm going to start playing more of that. I'm a bike rider, I'm, not a runner. I used to, when I played sports in high school and college, you had to, but I've never been, that way. But you try to do something to stay healthy, you know. So I ride my bike around, I live next to Woodward Park, so I'm riding in that hole, and it's so big these days. I ride on the weekends, so I can, get some exercise. And my wife and I are, now that she's retired, we're doing more walking ourselves, which is good. You're doing something. You're able to spend some time with your wife, and you're talking.
That's right.
And it helps. And we're at a point now that still, even at the age I'm at and at the age she's at, most people can't travel. They can't do stuff. Well, we're fortunate. We want to continue that while we're able to travel, because there'll come a day when we aren't able to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you're the walls are starting to close in.
Right.
So I'm gonna keep going till I drop. So.
It's still far away, Bobby. Last question, just anything people would be surprised to maybe know about you?
Well, I'm full-blooded Italian. Everybody knows that. I guess maybe that I used to be a race car driver.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Wow. What kind of race cars?
Yeah, I did that for a couple years in between marriages.
Wow. That's really cool.
When my brother was a successful used car dealer here for 30 plus years. And so he got into racing, and all the guys that worked for him, because he had a shop and all that, and had to, they were working on cars constantly as he was buying and selling cars. It was easy for him to have a crew. So he started racing Toyota Corollas, at Madera Speedway.
Wow.
And we'd go there, and I was in the pit crew because I just wasn't married yet.
Yeah.
And it was fun to go. We'd tow the car, and in the Corollas, it was you have to helmets the whole bit. You could crash into each other. Okay.
Oh. Wow.
But then that was really fun, and it didn't.
But not on purpose, though.
Didn't go very fast. But no, you're trying to win a race.
Yeah.
So if you knock somebody out of the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then it elevated into what they called super Toyotas, which didn't have, they were, went very fast, over 100 miles an hour, and you couldn't touch each other because somebody would go in the air.
Right.
And then it went into super modifieds, and I got a chance. My brother had all these cars, and I never intended to race any of them.
Right.
And he put me in one, before one race, and I almost shit my pants, quite frankly. But it was very fun, and we graduated from the quarter-mile track that's Madera Speedway, because you're turning left the whole time. There's no real straightaway, so you can't get going too fast. And we went to some half-mile and mile tracks where you can really get going on the straightaway. And in the faster cars, we were, in cars that were doing 140, 150, 160 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And did that, won a couple races, but, did that. If you next time you're in my office, you can see there's a picture up on the wall of me in one race. It's just people can't believe that I ever did that, and it's because of my brother.
That's very cool.
Fun, very fun.
Very fun fact that I'm sure most people don't know about. Well, Bobby, I think we're definitely gonna have to do a round two, if you're open to it. But
Sure.
I think this has been a really great conversation. Once again, I really appreciate you doing this
problem.
for us. And
Happy
Chris,
to do it.
anything we may have left out or anything?
I'd say we save it for a second
Round two.
Later on, this is episode 1. Maybe we'll do like
God, you know,
episode 12. Or
particularly when just good thing we're not drinking, because we'd be in here for 3 or 4 hours.
That's not a bad idea, Bobby.
All right.
Tito's and cranberry.
Yeah, vodka.
I'll
Vodka.
be
The
sure
gin
to-
is pretty good too.
I'll be sure we